bro.
That was
this is
good.
Great, bro.
This is really nice.
Everyone that said that he fell off after that album, I think they're biting their tongues right now, bro.
That was our first reaction to Roddy Ricch's new album, Feed the Streets 3. If you guys want to check our full live album reaction, head to the link in our description. But Lou, let's dive into our first thoughts on this new album because it's a major comeback for Roddy Ricch. A lot of people had a lot of criticisms with Live Life Fast. We were one of them. We didn't enjoy it. And I mean, a lot of stuff fell flat, but this feels like a good return to form for Roddy Ricch.
Listen, bro, he bounced back. Like, he beat all of those fell off allegations, and I'm super happy to know that he delivered on this album. 15 songs, only 2 features, and he really carried it out on his own, bro. He didn't really need anybody besides some dope beats, and I love the fact that it's like, yes, you're getting a lot of those standard guitar string driven melodies and a lot of piano riffs, but they're all sounding really polished. They're all sounding really crisp, and I like the fact that Roddy isn't doing anything too far away from his element. He's giving you those dynamic vocal performances. He's giving you even riskier songs, like, for example, something like, was it, I think, No Rest?
Absolutely, No Rest, Belly of the Beast, even something like Blue Cheese, where he's experimenting with new and different flows, but it also feels home to Roddy, as like you were saying. And one of the big complaints that I had with his last album was the pacing was awful, bro. I went through Live Life Fast, and I felt like it was a drag of a listen, but with this, I believe it's only 38 minutes as a listen, so you're going through the track list, and I'll find myself feeling like, okay, this is really good, you know? Like, I feel like I could listen to this from start to finish, but I do have my skips, though, and I want to start off with number 1, Freak. I mean, listen, the production is fire because you're getting, like, this really nice atmospheric type beat. It's super playful, but the content matter gets kind of wild for me where I can't really relate to it.
It's like I said in the reaction, but it's literally audio porn. Like,
exactly.
That's what you're getting into for that song, and Ty Dolla $ign contributes, not in the best of ways, again, going into that territory that's super explicit, kind of makes you a bit uncomfortable, to be honest with you. But that was one of the only kind of L's on the track list. Another song that I wasn't too big on, I would have to say, would have to be Pressure, which came right after number 1, Freak. And that's where you're getting the run-of-the-mill, generic Roddy flows that get repetitive, that he's done before, that isn't always super on beat. Apart from that, though, one silver lining that was really a big part of the conversation with this album for me is the fact that his hook game is unparalleled, bro. What he did on Fade Away, which is my absolute favorite song so far in this album, was amazing. The melodies were on point. He's singing with just this gospel and raw tone. And it's sounding amazing.
Absolutely. And it also felt like there was a purpose towards this album. Like, he was really giving it his all to give us some of the best performances that he's delivered, at least in the past couple of years.
Do you think there's been a match, like I would say, a matured approach from Roddy here in terms of the writing, let's say?
I mean, you're going to find that maybe on something like Letter to My Son, where, you know, he takes a verse to, you know, talk to his son about things that he wants to do with him in the future, talks about not having a father himself and not knowing where to start in that process. So maybe you'll see it there, but for the most part, I feel like Roddy just knew what he had to do on this album. He didn't overcomplicate things. And I also like how many different vocal performances you're going to be getting on this. Example, Favor for a Favor. I mean, I was talking about that song, how in the second verse things get a bit, you know, dicey at certain moments just because, like, it's a bit too unpredictable where, like, he'll be singing in a super high pitch at one point and then literally the next 2 lines he'll literally be talking to you. So, yes, there were certain instances where I felt like maybe he did do a bit too much, but for the most part, he was super consistent throughout this whole track list. Plus, what I like about this, you know, album as a whole, there's not a single song that sounds alike. Example, something like No Rest. I've never heard Roddy get into that type of mode before, and maybe you could have heard it on the first installments of the Feed the Streets, or even something like Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, but that hunger to deliver rap performances back again with songs like No Rest. And even at that production is super dark. It gets really nice with that fucking crazy 808, bro, that kind of extends out. Almost sounds a bit distorted for how fucking heavy it is. And I really like the sequencing of the album as well, because going from Just Because, King Size, Heavier, and Blue Cheese, the way that the album starts is like, you'll start on more of a melodic note with Just Because, then King Size, he goes more into his rap bag, gets a bit quicker in pace.
That was the one with the tap flow that Nav had used, right?
And that was within the first verse. And then on Heavier, he gets into more of his melodic bag again, and on Blue Cheese, you get another banger. So I like it, and I like the pacing of this album.
And speaking of that pacing, I think what's cool, like we were talking about in the reaction, like there's kind of like a 1-2 punch to this album where it's like, especially throughout like the first half, it's like melodic song, more of a trap banger, and it's kind of a 1-2 effect. That was pretty cool, just to kind of switch up the energy constantly. Apart from that, Stop Breathing was a great song. I love the way that he actually filled up, so much space with his vocals by adding in him gasping for air and these other ad libs that were really, really complemented the song in a great way. Apart from that, there was one song where he was kind of like clearing his throat at the beginning, and I was kind of talking about how it wasn't totally necessary, but that's a small gripe, bro. I'm not going to hold him, for one of those types of intros that are a bit uncalculated to me. It wasn't a big issue.
Yeah,
but
I was on the reaction. I was questioning you just because I was like, "You serious? Like a fucking."
I know
like,
it's a small fucking
I know.
nitpick,
Listen,
bro.
I can't blame you though.
But another thing that I really enjoyed too, production-wise, was the song "Heavier." You had kind of this myriad of different guitar riffs playing at the same time, and they sounded super unique. And I thought that was really well done. So the beat selection was upgraded on this album. I think that his performances overall were updated. I think that he really kept the culture of the original Feed the Streets, going into subject matter about how he made it out of the hood and how he's kind of carrying it on his sleeve now, trying to make the best life for himself possible. And obviously you're getting the Cullinan talk, you're getting the Aston Martin talk, you're getting that usual Roddy, luxury talk, if you will, which might get redundant at one point or not. But at the end of the day, you're not going into a Roddy album for the lyrics.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that tonight. All I wanted to see was consistency and to be engaged throughout the whole track list, and I really did feel like that tonight. Another one, Belly of the Beast, that really feels like a classic Feed the Streets sort of song where, he's talking to you about his upbringing and he's getting into this super nice rap bag while still having those like breaks of like gospel singing that you might want to see from, let's say, verse to verse. Not only that, but also talking about Twin with Lil Durk. That was nice too because, again, seeing him enter, more of that rap bag, and then Lil Durk comes back with a fantastic verse to close off the song. And you were saying in the reaction how like he went super dark to super sad in like a matter of a couple of lines, and you didn't know how to feel about that.
It wasn't seamless.
I liked it though. I liked it just because I like those types of little switches that Durk does, and I found it a really solid performance. So how do you feel like this stacks up to the rest of his catalog just off of first listen?
I think it's great. I mean, does it stack up to Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial? No, you don't have bangers on the level of PETA. You don't have songs that are as vibrant as something like High Fashion, but you do have a lot of standouts. Like that Fadeaway song, once again, bro, he really paints a picture on that one, talking about how he hopes that he can really stay with this relationship that he has going, even if he goes in a cell, whatever the case may be. He hopes that his woman is by his side. That was really refreshing.
And I like
him.
that too, because like talking about Fadeaway, I feel like when a lot of like different rappers try to get more into a melodic bag, or they try to get into like the love and romantic storytelling, it could come off as corny sometimes, or it could come off as uncalculated just because of the writing or the different flows or singing performances. But this was super well done because he didn't try to like overdo his stay, like it wasn't overbearing with the auto tune. Everything was well pronounced, and like even that little Carlos Santana like riff, that like riff, I'm not sure if it was actually a sample from him, but
I don't think so. But yeah.
I don't think so, but like it sounded something similar, puts you into like this natural nuance that, okay, I'm actually engaged into the track list. And what's nice about this too is that it's a fresh like sort of break from the rest of the trap that we've been getting this year. It's definitely on the higher end of trap albums that I've received this year, and I enjoyed it overall.
Absolutely, bro. Why do you think this kind of gears Roddy Ricch? Like, do you think this sets him up for maybe a bigger, grander studio album with a lot of features? Like, where do you think he goes next from this point forward?
I would take a break, man. Like
really,
maybe take it. He dropped 2 projects in 2 years, and I mean, the Feed the Streets installment is a big portion of his career, and like this is a big move for him. So I'm happy to see that he's made a comeback now. But do I want a part 2 of this? No. Like the thing is that this could get overbearing if, let's say, he brings in this same formula and structure for another project. So maybe experimenting with different subgenres within the hip hop lane, maybe having an album with more collaborators, because even at that, you only have 2 features on here with 15 track lists. So there's a lot of runtime for Roddy, but maybe on the next one, like he had done with Please Excuse Me, bringing in better features to be able to carry this out and to have a bigger, more grandiose
maybe
sort of
some
vision.
more West Coast influence. Mustard wasn't really prominent on this track list. So
Well, he did have. I believe it was
he had
Pressure.
a few credits.
He had Pressure, which he didn't like all that much. And to be honest, like I feel like that's maybe where Roddy gets a bit stagnant. For the most part, though, I believe it was. Hold on a second. Wait 1 second. I'm gonna find you the credit. Yeah, it was all Alec Beats, bro, and Sonic that did most of the production
Yeah.
on this, and they had handled a lot of production on Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial. So it really did feel like Roddy Ricch was at home while delivering this album.
It's a comeback album, bro. He came back, he fucking delivered. If you had to give it a rating right now, just obviously it's not set in stone, but what do you feel as a rating using our scale? Like the good? I'm on the good side.
I would be on the good side for sure.
Yeah.
Like it was a good listen. It was definitely favorable, and it's interesting because like going into this album, I didn't have any expectations, to be honest with you. Like I didn't want all those prejudgments that I had of Live Life Fast to come in and affect the way that I was going to be listening to this soundtrack, and I'm glad I didn't because it was nice from start to finish. Obviously, you're going to have your little breaks in here where you don't feel as if a certain song is as strong as the next one, but again, it's an album. You're going to get that all the time. So guys, let me know in the comment section, how do you feel about this new Roddy Ricch album? Has it met your expectations? And if you had to use NFR Podcast as grading system, let me know what you would rate it. Lou, any final words before we get off?
Honestly, I'm really impressed by Roddy. It was an awesome, project to dive into, surpassed my expectations. Hope you guys enjoyed it too. And like we said at the beginning of this, if you do want to catch our live reaction, link available in our description. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and we'll catch you in the next one.